Have you ever forced yourself to just be consistent even when your creativity's flatlined and what you are putting out there just doesn't even feel like you anymore? We've all heard the message, just be consistent and success will come. But what if that advice is actually killing your business and your joy? Today, I'm calling bullshit on the over-glorification of consistency and sharing what to focus on instead. Because forcing yourself to show up in the same way every day is the fast track to burnout, boredom, and building a business that feels like a trap. So if you've ever felt like the only way to stay visible is to keep abandoning yourself over and over again, then keep listening. Welcome to Too Much, Not Enough, the podcast helping 6- and 7-figure female leaders understand how chasing success is causing low self-worth and anxiety, and how awakening your divine feminine energy will reignite flow, abundance, and ease, making you feel excited about life again. I'm your host, Hannah O'Donovan, channel and activator of the untamed divine feminine. Let's get into it. In this episode, you'll discover why the traditional advice around consistency was never designed for intuitive feminine entrepreneurs, how nervous system awareness and cycle-based planning can support your energy without sacrificing your success, and a more aligned approach to your business, visibility, and momentum that works with your rhythms, not against them. It was a massive breakthrough for me when I realized that I was forcing a version of consistency that did not work for me and was actually killing my joy, my business, just everything in my life. And often I would actually stop before I'd even started because the thought of being consistent, as in like every single day showing up and doing the same thing, was crushing to my soul. And I didn't realize it back then, but I do understand it much better now, why the traditional advice around consistency was never designed for intuitive feminine entrepreneurs. And before I dive in here, I do want to make a little bit of a distinction here. I do think consistency as a general concept is important. If you want something in life, whatever that may look like, there is an element of consistency, of continuing to show up for yourself or for others or for the thing you want to do to get towards your goals. What I think we have done is we've conflated consistency and perfection, consistency and doing the same thing every single day, every single week, over and over without adjusting to various rhythms. And that is where we have gotten ourselves into a bit of a mess, because the show up no matter what narrative was built around masculine productivity models, linear, external, performance driven. And when we overly focus on that, we forget that these models don't account for hormonal cycles, emotional waves, creativity bursts, intuitive clarity, or rest that is core to the feminine. So for intuitive, high-achieving women, forcing consistency often leads to putting out content or creative ideas that feel dry or disconnected or forced and often inauthentic. It leads to a business that requires performance, not presence. And that often then amounts to self-doubt when you can't meet your own or others' expectations that you have absorbed as your own. And so the result is that you either burn out trying to keep up, or you disappear completely when your energy dips, which reinforces shame instead of self-trust, meaning that when you can't show up and post consistently online or write your newsletter as often as you promised yourself you would, then you feel frustrated that you are inconsistent, that you are somehow broken, or you force yourself into a business model and systems that are not aligned with who you truly are and how you truly feel. I know that we live in the world of the algorithm, which is not just on Instagram anymore, but seems to seep into all areas of our life. And we are told that the only way to beat the algorithm and to stay relevant and visible is to be consistent, post 3 times a day, so on and so forth. But if you are posting stuff that you don't even believe in or that doesn't feel like you, is not authentic, is not genuine, then it doesn't matter if you can even keep that up for 6 months or 6 years. There is going to be a point where you turn around and you're like, I fucking hate this. I want to burn it to the ground. So, what's better, trying to hack the algorithm for 6 months and then burn it all down, or look at consistency from a slightly different angle and build a business that moves with you through all seasons of your life, through all seasons of your month, or even your day? Nervous system awareness and cycle-based planning can support your energy without sacrificing your success. I know sometimes that we can tell ourselves that there's no way that we can build successful businesses, lives, relationships, families if we are not somehow sacrificing ourselves into them, but that's not true. Nervous system regulation helps you make empowered decisions about when to show up, not reactive ones based on fear of losing momentum or the comparison game that you're playing, or because someone told you and you're thinking, well, they know better, so I should just do that. When you know how to track your dysregulation, so when you are in states of freeze, of fawn, of overdoing, you can pivot with the care that you need to maintain long-term consistency instead of the guilt and shame that stops consistency in its tracks. And that really, my friends, is the perfectionism part of you talking, that is trying to protect you and pretending that perfectionism is just consistency, and it's not. So when we are aware of the fact that as women, we are evolving beings. We all evolve throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month. We are not necessarily going to feel the same all the time, which means that we cannot produce to the same level all the time. We are not going to be as creatively inspired all the time. When we understand this and we are more gentle with ourselves and we put systems in place that allow us to work with our rhythms, then there is actually this ability to be consistent longer without forcing consistency. So pairing this nervous system awareness and devotion with cycle-based planning, being both menstrual cycle-based planning and energetic cycle-based planning, you can, for example, batch create when you're in high energy phase. You can focus on inward work when you are during a lower energy season, and you can build sustainable rhythms that prevent you from wanting to burn everything to the ground at a certain point. So really thinking about planning out your days and weeks, capitalize on the times when you are feeling high energy, and don't force yourself to push through at the times when you're feeling low energy. Because when you're feeling low energy, and you force yourself to push through, you're also actually jeopardizing your high energy periods, because that imbalance is going to throw off your natural rhythms and you're going to drain yourself on both ends. So really looking at the responsibilities in front of you and thinking, okay, when would be best to do what type of work, and how can I build my business so that on the days or weeks where I'm not feeling like showing up at the same level, then it is not jeopardizing my results. And especially for those of us who are neurodivergent, it's so important, because something I struggle with so deeply is inauthenticity. And when I say that, I mean, like, it is repulsive to my core for me to show up. Like, I actually can't do it for me to show up and pretend. It's really difficult, actually, maybe to a little bit of a detriment for me, because there's sometimes that I don't need to just like say exactly how I'm feeling all the time, but I cannot show up if I'm feeling like shit and pretend that everything's okay. I think that that is a beautiful thing because what you see is what you get with me, but I also understand for me that that means that I can't rely on, for example, creating content for this podcast, for my online community each week, because I know that there will be 1 or 2 weeks every month where I don't have the same energy. And therefore, thinking ahead and planning with that rhythm is so, so, so important. And so, as I said, this is not about avoiding consistency because consistency is the key to success, but it's about redefining it in a way that honors your energy as a foundation for your success, not this thing that you are forcing to occur so that you will eventually hate what you've built. And the key to all of this is a more aligned approach to your business, visibility, and momentum that works with your rhythms, not against them. So, visibility doesn't actually have to mean constant output. It can mean intentional magnetic presence that lands deeply, even if it's less frequent. I want you to really hear what I've said there. You could post 3 times a week or 2 times a week, or in some cases, even once a week. And if it is from a place of deep alignment, truth, is connected to you and your like deep inner knowing, that is going to create a magnetic presence that draws people into your sphere way better than if you were just posting all the time, but it's super diluted. Or you're creating and putting out things all the time, but your heart is kind of half in it. So again, I know that the world of algorithms has taught us that it's frequency over everything, but I really do not believe that is true. And I do not believe that where we are going, that that is going to continue to hold weight because people, especially in this world of AI, people are looking for authentic human connection more than ever. So if you can create one piece of content or put out one offering or produce something that pierces people through their heart, that's going to be way better than putting out 6 programs this month. And your own momentum as a woman often comes from resonance, not repetition. And I can only encourage you to try this out for yourself so that you can see how this works. But your energy matters more than your frequency of output. And this blew my mind when I started to put into practice. As someone, I am a projector in human design, and this is a huge part of my design, which is I am not meant to be doing all the doing. The more I do, which sometimes my brain tells me is the only way that I'm worthy and will stay safe and connected in this world, is actually detrimental to the potency of what I am here to share with the world. So on the days where I don't push through when my body is saying you need a break or you need some time off, or for example, this past month where I have not posted anything on social media until today, my little gremlin brain was saying, you're going to become irrelevant. Was looking at my follower count. I could see that I was losing followers. It wasn't a lot, but I was losing followers. Even before I took the flat out break of not posting anything, which I didn't actively decide to do, I just had to do. I noticed my videos weren't getting as much reach because I wasn't sharing as many per week. So yes, sometimes the numbers can scare us, but I didn't feel like I had anything to say. The thought of holding the phone and recording something just was like, it was almost insurmountable. And I knew in that moment that it was 10 times more important for me to take a break and risk irrelevancy than to keep pushing through. Because to keep pushing through would have, like, my content would just have taken a nosedive. And it took a while. I was like, am I ever going to get my inspiration back? Am I ever going to want to pick up the phone and record again? And then today, I was like, yep, I have something to say. And I recorded a bunch of stories, and they were more honest and potent than anything that I would have done had I just kept trying to push through. So, this idea of resonance has now built up this momentum to say, I feel like I have more ideas here. I have more to say. So, taking that break was so, so, so important to actually gather momentum to be more potent, even though we think it's the exact opposite. And the idea of anchoring into consistency of alignment, not just consistency of action. I think if you take nothing else from this episode, please take that. How can you be consistent in asking yourself, is this coming from external pressure or from my internal truth? Constantly, when you're making decisions about your day, about your business, about your relationship, is this coming from external pressure or from internal truth? Allow yourself to build up that consistency of alignment in micro moments. It's not just about doing and being consistent with what you do, but being consistent with how you're being, who you're being, and creating systems that support your flow. Because here's the thing, I know as a business owner that I can't just fully flow into waking up each day and thinking, how do I feel today? Because there would be too many days where I'm like, I'm just going to lay in bed and not do anything and not move the needle forward, because sometimes that comes from fear. And instead, creating systems and templates and intuitive launches and repurposing content in a way that supports the flow of your energy. So getting those systems in place so that when that pressure comes through, you know that you have a ecosystem that will support you to align with the truth, not with what you think you have to do. And always, always, always giving yourself permission to pause, to pivot, and to rest without making it mean you're failing. And listen, I think I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm saying it to you right now, because I can get so whipped up in, well, if I take a break here or if I just decide to make a huge pivot, that's crazy. Like, sometimes I'll invest heavily in a coach or building out a program that I really struggle to let go of, because I'm like, this means I'm failing, or all of that work was a waste, or I'm behind, or whatever. And when you are feeling that deep resistance to letting go of something that you have this like nagging feeling that you need to let go of, those are the moments where you need to give yourself the most permission to do that thing that keeps coming up in your mind, because otherwise you are falling into the trap of consistency of action rather than consistency of alignment. Because the more you work with your body, with your emotions, and with your intuition, the more sustainable and pleasurable your growth becomes. This is an essential piece to inviting more divine feminine flow into your life, is understanding that this perfection version of consistency that we have built up in our minds is not the version of consistency that is going to get you to where you want to go. It is the fast lane to building a business, a life, or a relationship that you can't wait to get out of. So please remember that this traditional advice around consistency was not designed with intuitive feminine entrepreneurs in mind. The show up no matter what narrative is built on masculine productivity models, and they don't account for our natural cycles, our hormonal cycles, our emotional waves, our creativity bursts, or our intuitive clarity, which are all core to the feminine. Nervous system awareness and cycle-based planning can support your energy without sacrificing your success. This idea of slowing down and flowing with your natural cycles is not about like giving up and throwing the towel in. It actually is going to build momentum for you in the future. And it's going to allow you to build systems and businesses that grow with you in every season of your life, not just the season you're in now with the energy and access to time that you have, because that's going to change in the long term. So you want to make sure what you're building is something that you can build whatever your circumstances are, whether you choose to start a family or grow your family or move to a different city or change how you operate every day. Like, let's think long term about how we're setting ourselves up for success. And a more aligned approach to your business, to your visibility and your momentum that works with your rhythms, not against them, is core to this. This is about anchoring into consistency of alignment, not just consistency of action. When we are anchored into consistency of alignment, the consistency of action flows with that. But when we try to put consistency of action first, it feels forced and that momentum just like is not going to come. Thank you so much for listening and continuing to trust that your deepest desires are inevitable and that you deserve to be turned on by your life. It is a myth that you just have to suffer through. New episodes are released every Wednesday and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern, so I'll see you back here next time. Are you still stuck in the cycle of overdrive and feeling anxious even after trying things like meditating, journaling, maybe even resting? These tools only work at the level of the mind and can't create the safety your body is craving when your nervous system is dysregulated. That's where the Somatic Return Journey comes in, a free 5-day audio experience designed to help high-achieving women like you finally regulate your nervous system, awaken your divine feminine energy, and reconnect with the part of you that leads with flow and not force, no matter what's happening around you. In less than 15 minutes a day, you'll feel more grounded, empowered, and emotionally agile by this time next week. Head to the link in the show notes to get started.